So we'll put up sort of a map of the district and also some basic facts about the district. But tell us from your point of view, as you look forward to this midterm race, what are the chief issues that the voters will rely upon in picking between you and your opponent?
No, thank you for asking. And, you know, I've not run for office before. This has been quite an experience. And I've been so thankful for the outpouring of support from the community. As you mentioned, I've been running the Tucson Hispanic Chamber for about the last decade. And our chamber operates throughout the entire region, throughout southern Arizona, all the way to the Mexican border. So it's been encouraging to have so many folks step up and to support me in this race. I'm running against someone who's a career politician who's moved from 5 hours north in Arizona, the Flagstaff area. She's moved down here to try to represent us. And it's important that we keep this seat pro-business Republican and to keep the House majority. The race has been going very well, and I'm spending a lot of time knocking on doors, talking to voters. You asked top issues, and it really comes down to the economy. We are not in Phoenix, which is the capital of Arizona. We're about 2 hours south and further as we get to close to the border of Mexico. And we aren't seeing the economic lift that they are seeing in the Phoenix area. And I think there's a lot of ways that we can improve and grow small business, the entrepreneurial environment, making it more business friendly throughout the state, and certainly impact deregulation. I'm a big proponent of tax reform, so I do talk to folks throughout the district about the importance of tax reform to the district, and then certainly our family security. We talk a lot about border security and other issues.
So let's talk about a couple of those issues. I mean, as you say, you're right down there on a border. Sure. There has been a big issue about NAFTA. Now it's the USMCA, it's called, that's come in. Does that address some of the needs and wants of your business constituents there in your district?
It does. You know, I was a big proponent of improvement to NAFTA. As you know, it's more than 24 years old. The internet didn't exist when NAFTA was put in place. So having it renegotiated, improved, was something I supported. I was concerned as negotiations went along and was able to present that information to the Trump administration that we did not want to see NAFTA go away. We wanted to see it renegotiated. How it's come about, and I know a lot of the particulars are being developed now, and that will go to Congress, but I'm very supportive of the fact that a U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement was put together. In Arizona, more than 110,000 jobs depend on trade just with Mexico alone. So it's vitally important that this agreement be put into place. So
you mentioned border security, which of course would be a big issue in your district given your location. Tell me about that. I mean, how much of that, do you want a wall? Do you think we should be paying for a wall? What do you think about the Dreamers? We haven't heard about the Dreamers in some time now. You must have many constituents who have a lot of feelings about this subject.
You know, this is a top issue for people throughout the state of Arizona, being a border state. And first and foremost, we need to do what we can to stop drug smugglers and human trafficking from occurring across our southern border. I've grown up here. I've lived here more than 40 years in this district. And there's a lot of sad stories we hear as the heat rises, people getting hurt or even dying in the desert. So I do support a wall where it makes sense. We do need additional resources for surveillance and technology. We need increased border patrol. As a chamber president, we lobbied and we're very supportive of Congresswoman McSally as she moved forward on a bill to help us increase border patrol and use veterans and former military who want to serve as border patrol, because we've had a problem with recruiting and retention.
And what about the Dreamers?
But it is something people feel very strongly about.
Right. Well, what about the Dreamers?
Dreamers, sure. So I support a legal status for Dreamers. I think not to go as far as citizenship. Immigration, regardless of party, people confirm that it's broken. We need immigration reform. And I think Dreamers need to be a part of that, but they should have legal status now.
In addition to questions of the border and questions about the Dreamers, the administration also has cut back on the number of people who can come to this country to begin with, cut back rather substantially. How does that play in your district?
I think it's tough. We are showing the lowest unemployment that we've had in quite a while. What I hear from employers, especially in my role at the Chamber of Commerce, is the difficulty they have in finding qualified workers, especially in agriculture and construction and trade. So I think we need immigration reform to tackle some of these workforce needs that we have throughout the country.
What role, if any, will President Trump play in your election? We'll put up a poll, actually, it was done by the New York Times, that indicates that actually more people disapprove of the job he's doing than approve. Not by a large margin, but by a margin in your district. Is President Trump a help for you or a hurt for you as you go into this election?
You know, I think there's so many policies that President Trump has led that are very positive for the district. Tax reform, regulatory reforms that he's led. you know, the association plans. I mean, there are a lot of things that I talk quite a bit on the campaign trail as I'm out talking to folks. But I also tell people I'm an independently minded Republican. If there are things that are pushed forward through the administration, I'm going to make sure I'm at the table and I can give feedback and perspective from someone who's lived in this district for more than 40 years. This district in 2016 went for Hillary +5. So I'm aware of that, and that people have support and opposition to President Trump, and I'm strictly speaking about his policies and where I agree and where I want to be able to provide input.
And finally, out here on the East Coast, there's an awful lot of talk about Judge Kavanaugh and what's going on in the Senate, whether they think they should be in or shouldn't be in. Is it as big a topic of conversation where you are? Because again, the poll that was done indicated that basically people in your district slightly oppose Judge Kavanaugh being put in the Supreme Court of the United States. Does that play in people's mind? Are people talking about it the way they do back here on the East Coast?
You know, I think the whole confirmation process for Judge Kavanaugh just shows you a lot of the political dysfunction that's happening in D.C. I mean, I'm an outsider. I've not run for Congress or office before, really any office, and I'm running against someone who's a career politician. But if you look at a lot of this, the dysfunction and the fighting and so on that occurred, it was a shame to watch this unfold. I think from the perspective of Southern Arizona, we're waiting for the investigations to conclude so that we can ultimately see what position we want to stand on.